The inspiration is winter tires. Weight is medium weight. So we didn't say light because it is still a heavy duty, sole. And then the protection is mid-level. So these are very important. When you have a brief, you should have these informations. So she started with the side view sketching. That is a question that many people ask me, if I start with the lateral designs or with the bottom designs. I usually start with the lateral, the profile, because that is what we see attached to the shoe, and it gives the style, it gives the look and everything. So if the profile isn't fine, even if you have a very beautiful bottom, it's still very hard, because this is what we see when we see a shoe on a shelf, when we go to a Foot Locker or Decathlon, whatever, in a shop. So she has made some inspiration images from, like she did herself, and there are a lot of winter tires. Winter tires are excellent for as an inspiration for winter gear. So here I see a lot of, sketches. That's the right way of approaching design project. You shouldn't do with one or two and then say, okay, this is fine. Fine is never enough. We should explore even more. We should push a little bit more. Just with, as you see with a pencil, there we don't need fancy softwares. We don't need any AIs or 3D programs in this stage. We can use it afterwards. But I think the authenticity always comes from your mind and your hand. And we don't even need really excellent freehand sketching skills. If you have it, it helps. But if you don't have it, you can still correct it afterwards with Adobe Illustrator or anything that is good for you to use. So I see different explorations. That's also 4 of them. It's a good work, thorough work. So I also like this one a lot. In the end, she chose something like this one, but they are all interesting. They're quite correct how they are placed, the lugs are placed. So let's look at her design. She has chosen this one. So it is quite technical. I can see that, as you see, the lugs are very regular. The distances are quite regular, so it is all correct. Maybe we have this heel should have been better if it touched the ground a little bit more. We have a lot of heel spring, which does not give us a lot of terrain contact in the heel area. Maybe it would have been better a little bit more, but I didn't write it down because it's also a matter of style. And I never make comments on, like personal taste and style much, because that is to respect. So we have a very regular, nice profile. I really like it. It is covering what it should cover. And then we have a toe cap protection, which can be actually even stitched because of this groove. You can also stitch it on the upper. And then she even drew the color dam. Okay, so brava. Heel protection full rubber. We have a little lug detail. She even made a nice section, which she started to think like an industrial designer, which is a good thing. We have the radius hitting the base rubber. This is something that we are talking about in the masterclass on the winter boots, but also in trekking soles, finishing with a little bit of radius where it hits the base rubber. It gives more self-cleaning, so the mud doesn't get stuck in very sharp edges. So we need a lot of distance between the lugs. So she did that, so everything is correct. And we have a lot of rubber touching the ground in the central area, which is a good idea. So I think technically this sole is correct. So here, she used the AI, maybe it's Wiscom or maybe Newark, I don't know. I think it's giving the idea quite well. You see that the TPU Shank for stability here, it takes real life and it is plastic, you can see it. So let's skip to the revision. So one thing that most of the designers that start designing soles, what they do is they follow the bottom gauge of the last usually, so the heel remains quite narrow. So narrow heel, yes, you can always do that. But when you look from the back of the sole, it goes really like 90 degrees, or even it goes inside. which is not a very good idea because on snow, on terrain, even if it's trekking, if it is running, whatever, we need a good heel stability. So what I did is here, I just enlarged the heel. I did not pop it out more because we have to follow the line on the back of the heel. We cannot go over, right? We cannot go beyond, but we can open it up a little bit around the gauge of the heel. So this is a very, very typical first error when we start designing the sole, is to create the sole bottom gauge, which is different than the last bottom gauge. So this is one that I have corrected to make it more stable, and also it looks better, right, Stephanie? Instead of that, it's more balanced.
Okay,
So,
yeah, I can see it.
yeah, and when we look at the lateral, I see this part can be a nice painting happening. You know, like it's an excellent area to apply even maybe like a metallic effect, because on PU you can use a TPU wrap, TPU film that you can apply here, anything. And I think it's a beautiful positioning to do something with painting or TPU film wrap. Have you watched that? Did you all watch that? It is chapter 6 where we talk about the TPU wraps and metallic effects and stuff. So this can be done. I would, like add a shadow to show that the TPU sits inside the recessed area, like this one. You see that it sits inside. So when you design, maybe you can make a second line here, very close to the TPU, just to show that it is emerged inside the EVA, in PU, okay?
Okay.
And then when we do the perimeter, so look at this perimeter now here, right? It is all flat. And look at this one. So what you do is you pop out the lugs a little bit so that it shows that these are really like lugs, okay? It's a very small, I'm going with very small fine tunings with your design because everything is correct. The only thing is this lug is a bit too small. It's just on the edge. So in this part, actually the sole kind of rounds up, right? It is not so flat as we see it because it starts to roll up to the other side, sorry. So it is better to give at least like this one a little bit of more consistency here, a little bit of more material. Another thing that you can improve, so this one, you see these lugs are all separate, whereas in the toe area, we can rise up the base rubber and unite the lugs with the lower bridges, right? Like a bridge. So if these are like 3 or 4 mm, this is going to be 1.5 mm, and then this is going to be the base. I would put a little bit of more rubber between them so that they are kind of united, but not in the same level, okay? So this is touching the ground, this is not touching the ground, but not as deep as the base rubber. It's like a bridge between them. So the toe area is more sturdy, it is more anti-abrasion. I also made these little separations on these huge big lugs. This, you can always leave them like that. It is not wrong. But if we make these grooves a little bit bigger, okay, between them, this is gonna help the flexibility in the central area, because now they are so big, they keep the sole very, like fixed, firm. We can just cut them a little bit wherever we put some cuts. The rubber starts to work and flex, which is not a bad idea. We have the same thing here. These micro cuts, maybe if you can make them a little bit, like deeper and larger cuts, like this one here on the lateral side. Do you see? Make it a little bit more really like with grooves. It would help.
Oh,
Yeah, because then this can remain a little bit slippery with these micro cuts. They are too small. Maybe it's better to make them a little bit larger and deeper just on the heel area. And what else? Okay, direct injection. You said that direct injection, it's a complex mold tooling. So this design in this moment isn't suitable for the toe area because the PU should be up and then the sole should go down. You know, direct injection is a real mess.
But that part is rubber. It's placed
I
in the
know.
mold first, but
Yeah, I know,
the
but you
PU don't
cannot do
need to
that.
go up.
Yeah, but you cannot do that because I do a lot of direct injection, not injection. Injected PU, yes. But direct injection, it means that I inject the PU over the upper. So there are problems. You can never make a rubber toe go over, like beyond the PU midsole. That's the rule. Unfortunately, it's like that because they
Oh,
cannot
okay, okay,
control
okay.
it.
I understood. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they cannot control it. So this first there should be PU and then there should be. So what I would do is I would do only, it could even be a poured PU. You don't even need injection. This is like a solid PU midsole, which I actually like everybody's using EVA. Whereas in this kind of products, I think polyurethane is a very good material. It lasts forever. It doesn't hydrolyze easily. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, I thought in PU because it's better for the context of the snow. But you are right. Should be only pouring PU mold, not direct injection. Yeah.
Not dye. Okay, it can be also injected PU, which the TPU can be co-molded. So they can inject these together. They do the TPU and then they put it inside the mold of the PU and then it gets injected. You can do both. So
Okay.
you don't need the gluing here. It is more clean. There are different ways. So as a designer, what we do is when we do the design, if we are not sure about the manufacturing type, we can always send our design, even if it's a sketch, to the mold maker if we already have them, and ask, what do you think? Can we do it? Like double injection? Can we do this? Can we do that? Or maybe you don't have the budget, and they will say, no, we have to go pouring. So we do the TPU apart and we're just gonna, glue it. So it depends on the budget also. But in this case, we don't have a budget limit. So it can be also the TPU and PU injection.